I know where there's some, right here in the hall, clerk.
No, Molly, not in there. I have enough.
One of these days.
Now that I look at this looks more red than I would imagine walnut is. On the other hand, it looks pretty good. Anyway, I think I can take this patch out and replace it with this piece of wood right here. That will match pretty well. Yeah, pretty well right there. That's going to be pretty darn close. Anyway, I've got a piece of veneer that I can, so I have to get this one up, and I'll do that by applying a little bit of heat with a heat gun and working a blade under there. It's half up over here already. Then we'll see if there's any damage to the underlayment. I hope not. Here's a remnant of a white paint drop. No old radio is an old radio unless it has white paint dropped on it at some point in its life. All right, that was almost trivial. So something happened here, apparently. There's some filler there. This piece of wood doesn't look like it belongs. And this red color. But otherwise, you know, I think this needs to be glued up here. I may even use putty to fill that gap in so I can get it nice and smooth. But what I'll do is I'll retrim these edges. It's too bad it's a blunt thing like that. It would have been better if it had been angled in some fashion. Wouldn't catch the eye so much. Yeah, the underlayment needs to be glued up. Needs to be fixed first. So the first thing I'll do is inject some glue in there and fix that. I also see the underlayment is missing right here as well. I'll have to see if I can find something that thick. Looks just like another piece of thick veneer. I've got some more of that on hand. I could glue right under there and then trim off and sort of even this back out, and then I can scrape the old glue off, cut new edges, and fit a new piece of veneer in here. Yeah. All right, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, I have this pretty much cleared out. Now I need to scrape all that stuff off. That red stuff felt like glue, some kind of strange red glue. Anyway, now I've got to cut a piece. I've got some 16th inch mahogany here, which will make a filler. That will go right there. Oh, here's coming all apart here. So this is loose as well. Gosh. So I'll need to do some front to back clamping at the same time I do some clamping this way. It's going to be interesting. Every time I think I'm about to start on this substrate problem here, I find out that all of this is loose as well. So I've taken some tight bond too and watered it down just a touch so it would fit into this syringe and be injectable. And I'll inject a bead of tight bond 2 right along the seam right here where all this is coming loose, and clamp that down, and we'll wait for that to tighten before we do the rest of this, because this is all loose here. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, we'll let that set up for an hour or so. There's the old clamp mark. And old clamp mark. While I'm at it, I might as well apply a bead of glue under here. Okay, now we'll let that sit for an hour or so. Okay, rather than a few hours, it's actually been more than 24. So we can take these clamps off. Okay, that feels better. Still have this joint to do right here, and this substrate right here has to be glued down, but now I can get at it, and I can have something to glue it to that's solid. So that's good. But first we have to get the filler in there. I have a piece of wood missing here, And I've cut this out. It should fit. Feels like it'll fit okay. So that'll be part of it. I'll inject glue into the existing crack. Then I'll add glue here. Put this down. To act as more substrate. We'll clamp this all together and then do this bit over here. What I have is a piece of felt that should allow me to clamp that without denting, without applying too much pressure. I can see right here that the gap is closed, so that's good. I'll wipe up that excess glue and we can move on to the next thing. This is set up for overnight, so we'll take these apart. Okay, this closed up pretty well. As did that. And that glued in pretty well. I'm gonna have to do a little fill here with some wood putty because this was so uneven, but we're getting there. I'll trim this excess off with my knife here. And then we can start squaring this up for a new patch in here. One thing I was worried about on how to maintain that curve. So what I did was take a piece of paper and trace this curve right here onto the piece of paper. Then a friend of mine, Aaron, cut me a block of wood. It's a piece of old 1x6 that he had. And it looks like it's going to fit pretty well right there. I will cover the interior, this part of it, with felt. I'll glue some felt in there just to even the pressure out. But I think that gives me a clamping surface now. So when I put the new piece of walnut in here, I've got something to clamp it down and hold its shape with. So that's great. Thank you, Aaron. Okay, so I'll cut this off and we'll move forward. I decided the other piece of veneer I had in my hand was indeed cherry. This is the black, this is walnut. And as I fit it in here and run my finger over it, I realized this is just a bit thinner than that. So this edge right here is higher than this one, which means I have to pad this out a bit. So how much is a bit? This veneer is, where'd my caliper go? Just for example's sake, this veneer is 1.4 millimeters, and it stands above this part, so it's higher. So 1.4 is too much. This veneer that I'm going to use is 0.5. So I think what I need to do is double up. I'll glue another piece of veneer to this one to make its of the same width, to make its total width 1 millimeter. Okay, I have the steel rule clamped down here. We'll see if I can cut this straight. And that looks pretty good. I'll need to do a little bit of cleanup right there, but that'll do. So we've got to cut some straight edges here to cut our patch on, and should be ready to go tomorrow. Glue up. Oh, no, I solved it without even thinking about it. The potential problem was if the glue goes this way, or if the grain of the wood is running this way on this piece and the same direction on the underlayment, then when this is bent, it could very easily crack this top layer. But accidentally, I'll say accidentally on purpose, I glued them in the same or opposite directions. So we have a ply. All right, we can transfer this onto our goose. Here's the goose. The length this way is about right. This edge and this edge are fine, sort of, but it's too wide. So I have to sand this down here. Okay, we're right there. Just as good as I can get it right there. Now regarding glue, I could certainly use Titebond 2 on here, and it would hold it fast and forever. But when this radio was made, I used hide glue for everything. And that's what I'm going to use to glue this down. And there's a reason. Titebond is a great glue. It's permanent. It will last forever. Hide glue, like old brown glue, is also permanent. It'll last 90 years. But the difference is that hide glue is much easier to get off, to loosen, to take away veneer without damaging anything, and repair veneer, things like veneer. So I'm gonna dress this with hide glue, and that's what we'll use. It's warmed up and ready to be painted on. Hide glue is just much easier for the next person who repairs this radio and decides they want to do this patch better or replace it or re-veneer a part of it, who knows what. But that will give them a chance to take it off without having to resort to extreme measures to get the glue loose. So I'm going to use high glue on here. And again, if I were doing, if this were structural, I'd use Tight Bond 2. If it were really structural, I'd use epoxy. Okay. Make sure it's pressing where I want it to. Yeah, it should be fine. Well, here we are. It's the next day, moment of truth. Take the band clamp loose. Yeah. It's high here. It's about right here. It's a little high there too. I don't know. I had hopes, of course, that it would fit in there perfectly, and it looks like it would have had it slid down a little bit. Well, here it is. Scrape the edges down. That seemed to bring them flush. Exposed a bit of the underlayment right here. I'll have to tone that in with some stain of some kind. But otherwise, I think it's okay. It feels nice and smooth. Once the filler goes on, this is going to be filled with, and the reason I'm filling it, I wouldn't normally, except that that's apparently what Philco did. They used filler to make it a nice smooth finish on all of the radios, so I'll use the same. I'll do the same thing. I'll use Aqua Coat, clear wood grain filler.